it's Gina DePrima, and you're listening to Divorce with Heart. We merge heart wisdom and legal expertise to guide you along your divorce and co-parenting journey. Hi, thank you for joining me. This is Gina DePrima, and this is episode 1. And today we are going to be exploring how you can make your divorce work for you. It's something that I like to call divorcing with heart, and that's really my mission. My mission here is to try to change the way we, as people, as a society, divorce and the way you experience divorce and heartbreak. And the purpose here is to help you see that divorce is really something that you can use to your advantage to help make your life better and to help make your family's life better. So when I say, let's make this divorce work for you, I'm really talking about looking at the whole situation, looking at your heartbreak and your pain and, turning it around, turning it inside out and just using it as this journey to rebuild yourself and rebuild your family. So again, so you can be stronger and so you can be healthier and so that you can protect your children, because isn't that what it's really all about anyway? The choice really is yours, and you do have a choice. And what I always say and what I tell my clients is that this is going to be a difficult process. Even the most amicable divorces are difficult, but divorce can either tear you down or it can build you up. So, think about it. Most of us have experienced this kind of pain and heartbreak and the feeling that you're afraid that you're never going to find love again and, that something is wrong with you and you've got so much fear and worry and anxiety that, is this the right thing? Is this going to screw up your kids forever? Are they going to be damaged? All of this. And you know what? It's normal. It's perfectly natural to feel this way. Like your heart is just being ripped out and your world is being turned upside down. Even if you're the one who's deciding to leave, it's normal. It's natural to go through these different phases and emotions and doubts and not knowing, who to trust or who to believe in or where to go from here. And it's the feeling, I think, of being trapped and overwhelmed. And, the reality is that because you probably are somewhat trapped and overwhelmed. You're trapped by all of your thoughts and all of your feelings. And it's easy to let all of that negative stuff kind of just get the best of you. And that's what I mean when I say that divorce can tear you down, because it's when all of those negative sort of thoughts and beliefs and feelings of fear and anxiety, when that gets the best of you, that's when it really can just tear you down. And unfortunately, as a lawyer helping people through this process, I see that all too often. This is when I see people that are the most rational, logical people, but in the world of divorce, when you give them the circumstance, rationality goes out the window. Because you see, when you're trapped and when you're feeling overwhelmed, your ability to make these sound, rational decisions and your ability to act reasonably or, even most importantly, probably to act in a way that's in alignment with your true desires and your true heart and your true destiny, it can't happen. Because you're consumed kind of, and that's why I call it being trapped. You're consumed in this web of fear, this web of anger, and this frustration and overwhelm. And it impairs your ability to think clearly, and it impairs your ability to make good decisions. And sometimes that can make all the difference between a long, drawn-out divorce or one that goes a little shorter and a little smoother. So when you're kind of trapped in this space and you have all of this sadness and this grief, what happens is you begin to operate from that place. Like that's your base, and you don't even know it. It's just underlying everything that's going on. But that's what happens because you're having this feeling inside maybe that you're not enough or you can't have enough. You're afraid. How are you going to support your children? How are you going to afford the mortgage? How are you going to afford, to pay for that hockey? Or are the kids going to be able to do their activities? There's a lot of fear and anxiety. And when you're operating from that place, that's what fuels your decisions sometimes, knowingly or unknowingly. That's where the whole idea of this greed and competition and power struggles comes in. And that's what keeps people locked in this battle and the never-ending court case, because they're operating from this base. That's what's underlying the negotiations, and it's underlying the entire process. And that's what I want to refer to as the old paradigm. It's still the paradigm, but my hope here in reaching you is that together we can change this. We can change this old way of doing things, and make divorce something that really is more of an amicable, peaceful, respectful process, and not one where people are going to be wasting thousands of dollars fighting over dishes or lawnmowers or, patio furniture, for example. And that's the kind of thing that I see when people are trapped in their emotions and they can't get out of it and the divorce is tearing them down. It makes the sanest person crazy. And, maybe you've had some sense of that in your experience. So my hope is we can just turn that around, and do it different. And it's not surprising that this is the easiest way and the most common way that people go through this part of their life, because let's face it, this way of doing things, this, what I call the old paradigm, that's the way it's been done, right? That's what our parents did. That's probably what their parents did. God, if they were even, permitted to divorce. But that's what you hear. That's what you hear from your family, your friends, your aunts, uncles, cousins. That's just the way that people do it, at least as far back as I can remember. And, that's the way my parents did it. So I'm really also speaking firsthand in a lot of this when I say that when you go through this process like that, that's the place where broken families are built. That's the place where your court battles never end. That's the place where you have parents that are just holding on to their pain and their hurt. And it gets in the way of how they parent their kids. They end up spending all this money they saved for college or the retirement funds. And where does it go? It goes on lawyers. And days, months, years, all of it just goes by under the stress and the threat of a courtroom. This is where children, and I'm one of them, this is where children grow up feeling divided. We all know that children have a way where they know how to speak to one parent and how to get their needs met, a little bit of manipulation. That's normal. But what I've seen, even in working as a lawyer in this field and representing countless children in this field for about, the last 14 years or so, is that sometimes not only are we creating these children that are just growing up divided, we're sometimes creating master manipulators when we divorce under this old paradigm. These are the kids that really know how to, work the system of their parents. And these are the kids that grow up with broken hearts and closed hearts, and they're untrustworthy of love. They don't know how to really love. They don't come from a secure, stable foundation when all that they're exposed to is this idea of competition and the power struggles and the greed that they're learning from their parents. So that's the cycle. That's what I want to call the old paradigm. And then I'm inviting everybody to join in. If you're going through a divorce or you're going through this heartbreak or you know somebody that is, let's just stop it. Just stop the cycle. It's this old way of doing things. The divorce battle, it harms families. And I'm sure as you're listening to me right now, I'm sure you've got examples coming to your own mind of people or maybe it's yourself. Maybe you were that kid like I was. So the damage that can be done and that's left when people divorce like this. And with the divorce rate as it is, I don't see it going down anytime soon. I mean, I think it's been at least 50% as far back as I can remember. And depending on where you look, I see statistics that are even higher than that. So let's face it, divorce and heartbreak, relationships ending, that's not going to change. We're human beings. We grow, we change, we evolve. I guess it's just difficult to stay in that matrimony for too long, maybe. But the fact is that that's not going to change. So what can we do about it so we're not creating broken families? So we're looking at divorce and using it to our advantage. That's what I call divorcing intelligently. It's using your divorce and your heartbreak as a tool so that now it's going to build you up instead of tearing you down. You're going to make your divorce work for you because in this process, you're going to recognize that this is an opportunity. It's an opportunity for you to rebuild you and for you to rebuild your family and to strengthen who you are and what you know about yourself and how you relate to your children. The first step here is we really need to look at this old paradigm, turn it upside down, invert it, anything we can to say, look, let's have a better divorce. Let's not do it the old way. Because if we can have a better divorce, then we can have a better future. So it starts with your mindset. You've got to change your mindset and stop looking at the situation, with the lens of fear and anger and hurt and all of that, because that's where you get these thoughts of, I don't want to get screwed, he's going to screw me over, so I'm going to screw him first. I'm going to rake him over the coals, take him for everything he's got. These are the things that I hear. I'm just trying to give you an example, but you don't want to approach it with that mindset because that's wrong. That will give you the broken family. That will hurt. That won't create a better future. Instead, you want to approach it as though it is an opportunity for change. And that's the mind shift. Maybe through your marriage or your relationship, maybe you lost yourself. That's not uncommon. That happens to everybody. I hear it all the time. And what I mean when I say you lost yourself, maybe there were times that you sacrificed your voice or your opinions or your beliefs because you thought it was the right thing to do, or you didn't want to rock the boat, or, for whatever reason, you just thought it was better, usually for the sake of pleasing your partner, your spouse, or for the quote unquote, for the sake of the kids and the sake of the family. So you can use this divorce process as an opportunity to get back in touch with yourself and to find your voice again. And when you do this, you're building yourself up and you're building a better future. And, when I'm saying get back and to find your voice, I'm not talking about so much that voice that just comes from your head, that voice that says, I want everything I quote unquote deserve. That's an interesting topic. Or what are my rights? I want everything I have a right to. I don't mean that voice, okay? Because that voice is not exactly aligned to creating your best future. That voice sometimes is the voice of maybe somebody who's hurt or broken. I sort of sometimes hear it or feel it like a broken child trying to stand up for themselves and trying to, assert some kind of power, but it's not a good way of doing it. It's not sustainable. It's not real because you're not really in touch with what's driving you. You see, that voice that I'm talking about, that's just the voice in your head. And that's the voice that is driven by this fear of the unknown, this fear of survival, and the anger that you have over what happened in the relationship. I'm really talking about getting in touch with the voice of your heart and using both of these voices to guide you in creating your best divorce and a better future. It's the voice in your heart that intuitively knows, what's right for you and what you quote unquote deserve, because it's best for you and it's best for your children. And that's not necessarily all the same as let me fight for every last dollar and every last cent, and you'll know the difference, I think, most often because you'll feel it in your gut. If you're making a decision about maybe you're talking about child support or how much child support money you're going to get or how much you need to pay. Sorry, I lost my train of thought for a second. If you are making that decision and you're coming at it from, this base of fear and lack, feeling like you may not have enough. And so you're just going to say, well, I want, and it might be the maximum. I want everything I deserve. That might not feel right in your gut. And that's how you know when you're using both your head and your heart and you're listening to both voices that make up you and that you need together. Really. So, I'm started to hear an echo, a big echo. So make a decision, because if it's a decision that is right and you're listening to both your head and your heart, it's going to feel good. If it's just coming from this place of this old paradigm, you're going to have questions. You're not going to know. It's going to feel a little off balance, we'll say. So you can see that in these ways, your divorce can become an inward journey and an opportunity to rediscover yourself and to transform and align your life to who you really are. To begin, you've really got to get into this different mindset. So I suggest that you start asking yourself some questions. Start asking yourself, and this might sound kind of simplistic, but I don't think most of us do this very often. So start asking yourself, who are you? Who are you really? Who are you at your core? What's your true nature? Because I'll tell you, I believe that at our core, we are all loving, peaceful beings. And sure, at times we can get taken off track from our true nature. But I think in the end, we all want the same thing. I mean, sure, there's some people that live outside on the phrase, but I'm just talking about the majority of us. I think we want the same thing, and that is harmony in our families. We want peace. We want easy relationships and, healthy, well-balanced kids. And I think, at least on some level, we all know that we can get a lot further with cooperation over competition, and that we can at least see the value in being flexible with our partner, soon be ex and co-parent, and cooperating with each other versus, let's be competing with each other and trying to prove who's the better parent and who the child likes more, or, who has more fun with the child, these kinds of things. And I think really we all can see that. It's just sometimes, I don't know, we forget to look. So one way of doing this would be to find some quiet space and really just try to calm yourself. And when I'm saying calm yourself, take some deep breaths, in through your nose, out through your mouth, slow, deep cleansing breaths, because this really helps to calm your nervous system. And one thing you can do is you can count when you're doing this. Maybe you start with 3 breaths in, hold, and then a count of 3. Sorry, I didn't mean 3 breaths. 1 breath, count of 3 in, hold, and then out for the count of 3. Then you'd come back in maybe for 4, hold, out for 4, hold. And do that until you get to a place where you feel comfortable, you feel relaxed. Maybe you get to 5 or 6, okay? And in this quiet space, think about those questions. In fact, let me back up. Even before you go into it, maybe you want to write these questions on a piece of paper or like a journal. Just, who am I? What is my truth? What kind of qualities bring me peace in relationships? And what kind of future do I want to have? How do I see myself interacting with my spouse? How do I see myself interacting with my child? I want you to get into as much detail as you can. So sometimes it helps to kind of write that down first before you get into this sort of relaxed, meditative place where you're going to listen and you're just going to calm your body down and you're just going to listen. You can ask about these questions and you're going to listen. I'm not suggesting for a second that you're going to just clear your mind and not think about anything. That's something that I can't do. And I know for a lot of people, when you're in the midst of the grief and the heartbreak that you're feeling, that can just be really difficult. So instead, maybe just allow yourself a little freedom to daydream and create a picture and a feeling and a vision of your family after the divorce. And when you do this, you'll start to uncover some of the qualities and the things that are important to you. And you're going to realize, I think, that it's not so much the little things, but they're the bigger qualities. And it's very important that you write these things down when you're done. I almost forgot. I wanted to say one more thing about this exercise here. In doing this kind of an exercise, what we're talking about, if you're familiar at all with the energy body, is we're talking about something that is very much related to your third eye or your 6th chakra. So something else that you may want to consider doing before you get into this listening space is you may want to try some energy work. And this is another tool that I think would just help you. And this is something that you could really do almost every day as you're contemplating these questions. Maybe you do it for a week or so, but the idea of working with your energy body and this chakra here is so that you can open yourself up to hear the intuition that already lies within you. You see, you have all of these answers. You just aren't used to listening and hearing it and using it. So you can open up your intuition by activating this chakra and by clearing out some of the gunk that's in there. And so one thing you can do is you could just take your fist and you put it right over, that third eye space. I think most people know where that is, but it's pretty much, between your two eyes in the center of your forehead. And you're going to just make a fist. And not necessarily touching your body, but going in a counterclockwise direction. That's where you're going to be thinking about and saying out loud or saying to yourself all of the things that might be cluttering up your ability to have a clear, more wholesome vision. So you might be moving around saying, I am now releasing that I am afraid. I am now releasing that I can't trust whoever it is, fill in the blank. Maybe it's yourself. I'm releasing that I can't hear my own voice. I'm releasing that I'm confused. I'm releasing that I'm scared. I'm releasing that I'm not able to get through this, that I'm weak. I'm releasing that I'm not lovable. I'm releasing that I'm forgetful. I'm releasing that I'm not good. So any of that sort of negative self-talk basically is what I'm getting at here. I want you to take your fist above that third eye area, go in a counterclockwise direction with it, and say some of that negative stuff. And as you're saying it, you're saying how you're releasing it. And as you're turning to the left, you can kind of feel or envision like you're opening that chakra and you're dumping all of that gunk out. And then when you feel emptied, it's time to charge it up with the good stuff, the stuff that you want in there. So since we're talking about sort of trying to get in touch with you and see the future and the kind of relationship you want, it could be helpful then to take your fist and go to the right. Now, this is energizing that chakra. You're energizing it, and you're going to say that I am seeing my clearest truth. I am healthy. I am hearing my own voice. I am daring and brave to follow my own path. I am connected. I am motivated. I will get through this. I am confident. I am safe. And you can say those things as you're energizing this part of your energy body. And I think if you do that, and like I said, maybe you do this every day for a week, and then you get quiet and you calm down and you calm your breaths, you can calm your nervous system and contemplate those questions. You'll start to really get some real valuable answers. And these answers that you get are going to be so important because these answers are going to act like lights on your path. They're going to be guideposts that keep you walking in the direction that is best for you. And also, these answers can act somewhat like a shield. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. Okay? And a reminder as well. A reminder of who you were, maybe, or how you were, and what you don't want to continue to create. So there's 3 super, super important reasons here that I see for you to go in and really get clear and really begin to try to see yourself. And when you do this, you can help to shift your mindset on the divorce and help taking those steps where you're going to make your divorce work for you. And this isn't something you just do once. This is something that you may need to continuously do. All right. But the clearer your vision, then the more deliberate you can be in your choices and in your actions, because you're going to know exactly what it is that you're building. it's going to be kind of like a map, and you're not going to see this divorce anymore or think about it anymore as such a terrible circumstance, but instead one of an opportunity to make your family better and stronger. And, you know, when you're taking a chance, I recognize that, and going through divorce differently than the most. And when you take these kinds of chances and you take this chance on yourself, it can seem difficult and challenging, because you've got the old paradigm, so to speak, you know, working against you. You know, everybody, well, maybe not everybody, but you're going to have to come up against that old thought pattern where it's the battle of the wills and it's a power struggle and it's this win-lose mentality. You know, you might have a lawyer that thinks like that, or maybe your spouse is acting like that, because at the end of the day, you can only really deal with how you are approaching the situation. So, and I understand a lot of times when people are going through this place in their lives, they lean on friends and family members for help too. And it's your friends and your family members who may have the greatest intentions in the world because they love you. But again, remember, they're more prone to the thought process of that old paradigm. So I get it. You're taking a bit of a risk here, and you're taking a chance on yourself to do things different. And when you do that, you really need to stand out. And this is when I say you have to get clear. And the clearer you are, you can use it as a shield, because it can then, you know, help you ward off, so to speak, against the people that are trying to pull you off of your path. And then that'll allow you to still stand for yourself and be and create something different. And what I'm going to ask really is that you consider yourself in a completely different light as you're entering this arena or this place in your life. You know, and that divorce is not the battle of the wills. But if you want to look at it sort of in those terms, because it can be difficult to completely break away, then consider yourself as a warrior of peace. Okay? Lay down the weapons, so to speak, and become a peace warrior. And I think what we're going to do is take a quick break, and I'll get a little, check my notes. We'll take a quick break, and we will come right back, and we'll talk about being a peace warrior. Thanks. Hey there, it's Gina. If you like what you hear, did you know that you can get even deeper and closer to your heart's wisdom and receive personal one-on-one guidance by working with me virtually? If you're sick of drowning in frustration and overwhelm and ready to flow through your divorce and co-parenting challenges, then go to my website and book a call with me. That's deprima.com, DEPRIMA law.com. Or you can find me on Facebook at Deprima Law. Talk to you soon. Some of you have questions about your partnership, marriage, or co-parenting situation. I'm here for you. Give me a call in today's live episode by dialing the U.S. number 1-760-456-7277. That's 1-760-456-7277. Talk to you soon. Hi. Okay, and we're back. Sorry, we're also having a little bit of technical difficulties here, but I think we got it all under control now. And that's right. We were going to talk about the warrior of peace and what I mean when I'm referring to that, because that's a key component to divorcing in this new way. But before I go there, I realized that I forgot the third most important reason, I think, of why you really want to get clear with yourself and start looking at yourself and listening to that inner voice and visioning what you want in the future. And that third reason is because, right now, you're feeling like you're kind of like a train that's kind of gone off the tracks, right? I mean, some people say, "Oh, I'm a train wreck." Okay, you might feel like that, sure, and you probably feel like that because it's true. Your life has just kind of been shifted out of whack a little bit. I always think about it like when I'm setting up train tracks or when my kids were younger, and I'd set up their little race cars. If I didn't get it just so, then the car wouldn't make it. Just go right off the rails, and so I feel like that's the other reason why it's so important for you to do this, because you're feeling like you've just kind of gone off the rails on a crazy train, because you really have. You've been operating probably during your marriage and through your relationship, in many ways, probably unconsciously. I doubt you ever took the time to say, well, who am I? What do I want? What am I creating? Most of us don't do that. We just kind of live our life. And we go with the flow and we see what happens and we get angry and we react and we don't think often, and we don't listen to that voice in our hearts, where we listen to the voice in our heads maybe a little too much. So that's the third reason why it's important to do this, because if you don't take a look at yourself, then what you could run the risk of doing, and I see this quite a bit actually, is you're just going to take all of that crap that you built up in the relationship and the marriage, all of those bags, and you're just going to bring them right on with you into the present and into the future. So they're just going to continue to be there, and they're going to continue to be there interfering with your relationship with your ex and your ability to co-parent well. Or they're going to be there and they're going to continue to interfere with your next relationship, because you're here right now because your life went off track. Things aren't lined up. You're not lined up. So it's a good place and a good opportunity to get things back together and to put them together in a way that you want, in a way that's going to serve you, in a very conscious way and in a very intentional way. So you're not just going to continue living on autopilot, so to speak. So that's the third reason. I think it's so important to really get clear. Hey there, it's Gina. If you like what you hear, did you know that you can get even deeper and closer to your heart's wisdom and receive personal one-on-one guidance by working with me virtually? If you're sick of drowning in frustration and overwhelm and ready to flow through your divorce and co-parenting challenges, then go to my website and book a call with me. That's deprima.com, DEPRIMA law.com. Or you can find me on Facebook at Deprima Law. Talk to you soon. Some of you have questions about your partnership, marriage, or co-parenting situation. I'm here for you. Give me a call in today's live episode by dialing the U.S. number 1-760-456-7277. That's 1-760-456-7277. Talk to you soon.
intuitive ability. I just know it. I'm Doyle Ward, and in my show, Blissful Quests, we discover your superpowers. I'm a medium and a life coach from Texas where I've taught intuitive development to hundreds of students. Now I'm here with you. On every episode, I'll share tips and techniques for opening your gifts that we'll practice together. Plus, I'll take your calls to connect you with loved ones on the other side. We have fun in our show. So take a listen to my on-demand episodes now. And come listen to my live show every Wednesday at 11 a.m. Pacific, noon Mountain, 1 p.m. Central, and 2 o'clock Eastern.
Have you just been laid off? Or maybe you got fed up and quit? Or have you been out of the game for a while and you feel nervous about getting back into the workforce? Hi, I'm Lorraine Rise and I'm here for you. I'm an expert in all kinds of career transitions and I teach you how to move through them smoothly, led by your divine purpose, but with your feet on the ground. My guest experts and I will explore the hurdles and the joys that we feel in our working lives and maybe even sprinkle a few good ideas into your mind. I hope to see you here on Inflow Radio every Monday at 9 a.m. Pacific, 10 Mountain, 11 Central, and 12 noon Eastern for Career Uprising.
On the whole idea here of becoming a warrior of peace, the point here is, again, we're trying to build stronger, healthier families and have better outcomes after divorce. So we have to go through the process differently. We have to have a better divorce to have these better outcomes, right? So I like to kind of call in the energy or the character or, these days with everything, I sort of think about it sometimes too as like a Bitmoji or an avatar. I don't know, but I think it's helpful to sort of put a face or a character on the ideals of what you want or what you want to be. And so I think if it helps you think of yourself this way as this warrior of peace, and what are some of those qualities then that you would need to have as a warrior of peace? Well, I think a warrior of peace or a peace warrior has the qualities or the tools, we could say the tools of acceptance, forgiveness, courage, and personal power. And this isn't in any particular order necessarily, and I'm sure that I'm just going to keep on adding to this list anyways, but this is where I'm at today in the way that I see it. And the first here is having acceptance. And with acceptance comes compassion. So when you act in this way, if you take on the persona of this peace warrior, the first thing you need to get a hold of is acceptance and compassion, and accepting where you are and who you are and what is happening. And what I mean is you've got to stop all of the ifs and the ands and the buts and all of that stuff that's just kind of cluttering up your headspace. The if I would have just done this, then he wouldn't be leaving, or if I just could lose some weight, or if I was just home more, if I worked less, or maybe we can just work on it some more and go to counseling and then everything will be okay. Maybe it will, but I want to ask that you just stop doing that to yourself. Stop doing that to yourself, because maybe things could be different or maybe not. But if you're going to put forth the energy of, all of this sort of stuff that's floating around your head and changing in these what ifs, then invest the energy into yourself. That's what I'd say. Invest the energy into yourself, getting to know who you are and being different now and showing up differently in the relationship, even though you're separating. All right. And then see what happens. Ooh. So, sorry, I just got a little distracted. So stop doubting yourself and just second guessing yourself or trying to bargain away where you're at. You really need to accept where you're at and welcome it with compassion and respect. And what I mean, is if you had somebody maybe that was close to you pass away, we don't sit there often and just beat ourselves up over it. We accept it, right? We know that there's nothing that we could have done. We accept what is and what has happened. And that's what I encourage you to do here as well, is just to accept the relationship, respect what you had, and understand that you had moments shared, you've had time passed, and it wasn't all bad. Even though we tend to see the bad, it really wasn't all bad. There's a lot of good in it too. And now it's ending, and that it's okay. It's okay that it's ending. Because with every ending, there's a new beginning and a new opportunity. And that's natural. That's perfectly natural. Just like spring coming in right now, winter is ending, spring is coming in. It's the natural flow of things. And a marriage and your relationship and your family structure doesn't need to be any different than that. It doesn't have to have all of the drama that we, for years, have been attributing to it. Because you see, a warrior of peace is somebody that knows that there's going to be a tomorrow and that your tomorrow is built on your today. So you need to welcome your tomorrow by accepting with compassion that your yesterday, your days past, your relationship is ending, and that really is okay. All right. More tools, the forgiveness and courage. I really believe you need to have, absolutely, forgiveness and courage. It's like blood and water to a peace warrior. You cannot live without it. You have to have them. It's absolutely necessary and essential for this journey and divorcing and growing through the process, because forgiveness is what is going to set you free from the shackles of the past. It's going to clear away and make room for new emotions to emerge. It's in forgiveness where you can start to find kindness again, and you can grow your kindness, and you can let all of that anger and that sadness and that frustration kind of resolve itself. You see, because without the forgiveness, you just can't move on. Without forgiveness, all of your patterns of thought and your emotions, you just keep repeating it because there's no healing. There's no course correct, so to speak. But of course, in order to forgive, we need courage. Courage, great courage. Any warrior needs courage, right? It takes great courage to stand up and really take a look at oneself. Take a look at oneself and what their part was in the relationship, what their part is in the process of divorce. What are they creating? What are they doing? That takes a tremendous amount of courage. And it takes a tremendous amount of courage to do things differently and to fight that old paradigm, we'll say, of divorce. And if you don't think that you need the courage, or if you don't think that you think it's easy, I guess, just look at all of the places where maybe you're justifying your actions. And wherever you're justifying, well, I did this because of this, you're going to see some blame, and take a look at where you're defending yourself. Wherever you're defending yourself in this process, you're going to see blame. And maybe it is warranted. Maybe your partner, your spouse was a jerk and they did all of those things. It's very possible. Okay. But that's the easiest path. The easiest path is always to point the finger at somebody else. And that's the path that we take, I think, by default. But it's a warrior of peace that can have that courage to look at themselves and to know that that's not the best way to do it. And that in order to change the future, you have to change yourself. So the warrior has courage to look inside and see themselves and forgive themselves and their spouse. And they do it for their sake and, of course, for the sake of their children. Personal power. You can't be a warrior without some sense of personal power, right? And what I mean here is I am talking about somebody that knows their bounds and knows their limits and knows what they can influence and what they can affect, all right, and what they can't. And they operate at all times from within their sphere of strength, okay? And they exude and they know what it is that they want, and they keep their eye on that prize, and they go forward with this fierce determination at all times, creating that future and that healthier family. And they do that from this place of great personal power. And it's not built on what she fears or he fears. You know, it's not built upon this place of racing and they're afraid of the future, so they have to hold on to every last penny or whatever the case may be. They're doing it from a place of being fearless and aligned to his or her own personal strength. And a warrior naturally has to love herself and take care of herself first. And that falls within this realm of personal power, because without that, you'd be too weak. She would be way too weak to care for herself, to care for her children, and to create this kind of better life, a best life, and a life that can be aligned to happiness, and a life that can be lived on purpose. And this warrior of peace knows that in expressing her personal power in a way that is very deliberate and designed, that her family will be better off for it and strengthened for it. And that we're not going to have so much of this broken family, epidemic and these master manipulator kids. And I mean, I don't mean all kids end up that way, obviously, but we've all heard those stories and what can happen there. So these are some things that I'd ask for you to really keep in mind as you're going through this, and that this is just something you can do to really help make your divorce work for you. Begin by shifting your mindset, okay? And getting real clear on who you are and really taking the time to try to get in touch again with your voice, the voice of your heart, and listening to that. And consider yourself as this warrior of peace who is accepting where she is, who has the courage to go on and do things differently, who knows how to act from this place of personal power. And to help do it, consider what I talked about there with your third eye and kind of clearing out some of that junk and activating it, because that's really going to help you. That's going to help you to open up your intuition, and that's going to help you to really get some more heart wisdom, we'll call it, and some more guidance in that area. And if you're into crystals, I think amethyst crystal is something that goes with that as well, and you could carry that around with you. It's all about, in the beginning, clearing away some of your old thoughts and taking the time to discover who you are and creating the stronger family that you want and that you deserve for your future. And that's really the best reward, isn't it? If you can look back on your life and say, well, sure, we divorced, but my kids are happy and they're healthy and I'm okay and I know myself and I've moved on and so did he. And, it just sort of ended just like any business would. Isn't that where it's at? Right? But you can only have a strong future if you build it on a strong foundation. And this is the first step. So, I hope I've inspired you. If you have any questions, always, you can find me on Facebook at DPrimaLaw, DEPRIMALAW. You can message me there. I'll check that. You can email me, GinaMarie at dprimalaw.com. And please remember that nothing I've said here is to be construed as legal advice. And if you do message me and I respond, it does not create an attorney-client relationship. That this is really for general information and entertainment purposes only. And I wish you the best week ever. And much blessings to you. Thank you so much for joining me today. Come back next week and be sure to visit my website at dprimalaw.com to book a call, or let's connect on Facebook at dprimalaw, where you can join my group for more support. Please remember that the information shared is for general and entertainment purposes only, and that by calling in or messaging me, we are not creating an attorney-client relationship, and my advice is not intended to be legal advice. For specific legal advice, please contact a lawyer in your jurisdiction.
This show is brought to you by InflowRadio.com, the best curated talk radio network for personal development, wellness, spirituality, and conscious business.